Hello, and welcome to the Jerome Foundation's 2025 Filmmaker CV Webinar. We're joining you today from the homeland of the Dakota people, Minnesota Makoche, also called Minnesota, and current home of 11 tribes, 4 Dakota and 7 Anishinaabe, and the lands of the Lenape, Munsee, Canarsie, and many other tribes in what is also called New York City. We honor and respect the tribal sovereignty, rights, and cultural resilience of the many Native and Indigenous peoples connected to these lands. I'm Eleanor Savage. I'm the president of Jerome Foundation, and I am pronoun flexible. And I want to invite my colleagues to introduce yourselves.
Hi, everyone. My name is TA, and I use she, her pronouns, and I'm one of the program officers at Jerome Foundation.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nell Augustin. I use she and they pronouns. I am the program strategist, and I'm based in New York City.
In this webinar, we will be focusing on the guidelines and best practices for CV submissions, specific to our 2025 film granting programs, and we hope that it will be more widely applicable for other opportunities. If you're looking for comprehensive information about Jerome Foundation's film program, we encourage you to read the program and application guide or watch the webinar, both available on our website, and we'll share the link. We will share links to resources throughout the presentation, and you can find those in the video description.
This grant requires you to upload your CV, specifically your artist CV, not a resume or bio. You'll see a CV, which is short for curriculum vitae, on the left side of the slide, and a resume and bio on the right. At Jerome, we ask for a CV because panelists want to have a comprehensive understanding of a filmmaker's work over time. It is key for panelists to know past experiences, what you're working on, and where and how you are directing your creative energies. Think of the CV as your comprehensive artistic and filmmaking history. A bio or highlights resume document leaves out too much information and context. A CV is a required component of the application. If you upload a resume or a bio instead of a CV, your application will be considered incomplete and not eligible for panel review. CVs emphasize comprehensive records of accomplishments and awards. Jerome does not have a page limit for a CV. We recommend getting into the habit of continually maintaining your CV, adding to the list everything you do in your career as your running tab. From this source CV, you might then go on to create different kinds of CVs and resumes. One will be shaped for exhibition or screening opportunities, while another may be used to apply for jobs or freelance situations, or to stress your activities as an educator, producer, or programmer, etc.
On screen, you'll see a longer list of section headings and categories that we'll want to include on your CV as they are applicable to you and your practice. Nell will take us through these sections one at a time.
Let's start with the basic items that you'll want to include at the top of your CV, your name and contact information. We don't require a legal name, just a common artist name that you are known by. Your contact information should include your email. If you have an artist website, provide that as well. You may choose to include or omit your phone number and address. Next, include any formal educational degrees you may have completed, such as a BFA, MFA, or PhD. It's important, especially, to include your enrollment and graduation dates. Also include any trainings or certifications that are relevant to your creative practice or career. Please note you are not required to have had any formal education or field-specific degrees to apply to this grant.
Professional credits are at the heart of your CV, and as a filmmaker, you'll want to lead with your filmography. This filmography is a list of your completed, directed works that include info such as the title, the date of the release, runtime, distributor, and some brief description of the kind of film, such as experimental, short, narrative, feature, animated short, etc. This is a critical part of Jerome's application. The panel needs to understand what are the films that you have directed, and so clearly listing that is going to be essential. You can either include the screening, broadcast, or award history with relevant dates, either as part of your filmography, as you see on screen, or if this is an extensive list, you might want to put this in a separate section labeled film screening / broadcast / festival / distribution history, as you see here. Your filmography should appear in reverse chronological order, with your most recently completed and screened projects appearing at the top of your list, while earlier projects appear lower. For those applying as a co-director team, note that each co-director needs to upload their own CV. You should indicate on each of your CVs a separate section that lists co-directed works. All applicants should note that any works included in your application, such as work samples, should be listed in your CV's filmography section. Otherwise, panelists will be confused as to why you reference work in your application that is not on your CV. Films for which you are not credited as a director should appear in a separate category, so not in your filmography of directed works. For example, if you were an editor on a film but not a director, please list that credit under the category of other film experience. You may also want to include your works in progress, noting the roles you're playing and the stage of production.
And be sure to include any previous awards, grants, fellowships, or residencies you may have received or declined. If you have received a finalist award or honorable mention that is publicly announced, you can include these here as well. You may choose to include any relevant teaching experience, as well as any press and publicity related to your work, including interviews, audio, TV, web, print, a bibliography of published reviews, and other press. Let's review some additional optional items you might consider including on a CV. Now, these items are not required, but we're sharing them because past applicants have included these sections on their CVs as a way to help review panels gain greater context for your overall artistic practice. These optional items include a brief blurb that summarizes your artist practice or identity as a maker, list of artist talks and lectures, and service or other relevant volunteer experience.
Next, we'll talk about best practices for formatting. First, lead with your most recent work and accomplishments. List items within a section in reverse chronological order from most recent to older work. Use clear, concise, and consistent descriptions for all listings of work and accomplishments. Make it easy to read, and you want to be sure that all the information is up to date and accurate. We also recommend adding a footer to your CV that includes the page number and your name, again, simply for ease of reference for staff and panelists. Check for consistent and readable fonts using size 11 or 12. Sans serif is typically easier to read. Remember, CVs do not need formatting flourishes that you might consider for a resume. No need to add a headshot or different colors or graphic elements. We just want to have clear headers and consistent and full information. Provide a comprehensive view of your artistic practice and career trajectory. Jerome does not have a page limit. And when you're ready to upload your CV, make a PDF version. This will preserve its formatting. If it's not a PDF, when panelists open, it's also that they may see different fonts, spacing, etc., from what you may have originally intended.
Here are some items that you should not include on the CV, particularly if you plan on applying to this program. Employment unrelated to artistic practice. As the applicant, you would be the best judge in determining what is unrelated to your artistic practice. Images or personal photographs or work samples. Links to additional content, work samples, or social media sites. Panelists will not review outside links beyond those included in the work sample section of the application. We also encourage you to not spend time creating a CV with overly complicated or eye-catching design elements like borders and colors, etc.
Again, we ask that you please review your CV to make sure it is comprehensive and thorough. On screen is depicted a sample of a CV that's missing some key info and would lead to an application not being eligible for review by the panel. This CV on screen includes education experience, but it doesn't have dates. There's a section labeled film experience, but only with a list of titles. A panel would not be able to determine which films you've directed versus which films you may have had a supporting role as an editor, producer, screenwriter, or cinematographer. As this opportunity is intended to fund those with film directing experience, it's important for the panel to be able to distinguish what were your roles for each project you worked on. So we ask that you do list those roles for each project. Also on this example, there are no years, so we don't know if these films have been completed or when. In the example, we also don't have information on what types of films have been made, if they're animated or documentary, or the runtime. You'll see again in the example that the screenings are listed separately from the film history, so it doesn't indicate which screenings were for which films, and panelists won't know the screening history of a given film.
We'll move now to who will be reviewing your CV. Jerome staff first reviews your CV to confirm your application is complete and you meet the early career eligibility requirements for the program. Please note that if you have uploaded a resume or a bio statement, your application will be considered incomplete. Review panelists look at your CV in the context of your full application as a way to get to know you and your trajectory of work as a filmmaker. Review panels are comprised of a diverse range of film professionals, which can include film directors, festival curators or programmers, executive or program directors of film organizations, and former Jerome grantees. Panels are assembled to cover a depth and breadth of aesthetics, methodologies, genres, practices, and ways of working. All have experience and an understanding of both Minnesota and New York City filmmakers. Minnesota and New York City applicants are reviewed by separate panels. And though we don't reveal specific panelists for a particular application review, you can find a list of past Jerome Foundation panelists on our website if you want to learn more, and we will share that link.
There are some additional resources we want to make sure you know about. And again, full details are in the program and application guide for each program on our website. There is informational webinar recordings for the New York City Film Production Program and the Minnesota Film Production Program and the Minnesota Filmmaker Mentorship Program. There are also pre-recorded videos specifically about creating work samples and creating a film production budget for this and other grant programs. All recordings are posted to our website. Just navigate to the page for the specific program you're interested in. There are also live Q&A sessions you can attend. Both are on March 18th with separate sessions for New York City and Minnesota. And if you have questions about your eligibility or general questions about the program, we encourage you to make a phone call appointment with program staff. You can sign up for a time between now and March 28th, or you can send your questions by email. Just check out the help and resources section for each program.
Remember, applications are due before 4 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Thursday, April 3rd. Late applications will not be accepted, and all applicants will be notified of their status no later than October 20th, 2025.
Thanks, everyone, and good luck with your application.